Shalawama, Shalawama. I am Dr. Yasapa. Welcome to Astrotheology. So we had a change of schedule. I'll go over the schedule shortly, but give me a second. Let's let people have a chance to get in. All right. Let me check to make sure we are live with sound and everything else. Give me one moment, please. All right. So we are good. All right. All right. So we are live. I'm Dr. Yasapa from Zion Law School. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Astrotheology. This is video number 40. We have done 40 presentations up until now, 40 presentations, live streams of astrotheology. All right, y'all. That's big stuff, okay? We are working from the Devil's Pulpit, which is a book composed of a series of sermons given in the 1800s, something like 1810, 1820, 1830s, and compiled. Those sermons were compiled into book form. And this is the foremost authority on astrotheology. It is absolutely the foremost authority on astrotheology. The sermons were given by Reverend Robert Taylor. That's what we read in the title, Reverend Robert Taylor, B.A. All right, those are his credentials. This book again, which we're working from in terms of reading, explaining. So why are we reading and explaining instead of just doing a lecture? Well, one, if it's just a lecture, you don't know what's in the book. You'd have to take my word for it. That's the first thing, right? Secondly, probably more important than that is that this book is a hard read. It's a very difficult read because it was composed from such a long time ago. And it's not only that, but it was composed of a series of sermons. And speaking is a different form of communication than writing, okay? So it's a difficult read, not only in terms of the expressions and the vocabulary, but also the flow, the sarcasm, the locations, the mythology is just not common stuff that we come into contact with in today's world. So the benefit that you get by being here with Dr. Yasapa, who I am, through this platform, Zion Law School, is you get the benefit of hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of education and probably thousands of hours worth of study time, okay? And what else? You get me. You get me. I'm the value proposition, and that's why you should be here, because you get me, my unique teaching style, my unique communication style, and my personality, along with everything else I just discussed. So that's why you should be here. These video presentations are for anyone who's interested in the Bible, particularly Christians, Muslims, and Jewish people, but also Freemasons. Why do I say Freemasons? Because in just after one chapter, we'll complete this chapter. This is going to be a short presentation, but after we complete this chapter, the remaining of the book is based on Freemasonry. So wait a minute, let me correct that. There's two more chapters, okay? There's two more chapters. One, I believe, is called let me look at the table of contents, okay? Let me make sure I get this right. All right, so the next chapter is called A Cup of Salvation, right? A Cup of Salvation. Salvation is the key word, okay? So we can associate that with the cup, give us an idea of what's coming on. Next, right? After a cup of salvation, there are four chapters related to Freemasonry, part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4. All right, and then after that, the chapter is the Holy Ghost. Next chapter, St. Philip. Next chapter, St. Matthew. The next chapter is the Redeemer. Okay, so these live presentations are for Freemasons too. But if you are a Christian or religious person, if you're into the Bible, you'll want to stick around, be present for these lectures on Freemasonry, because it's going to give you insight into what Freemasonry is in terms of how it's associated with the gospel, with the Bible. All right. So this is big stuff, y'all. It's big stuff. And when you're riding with Dr. Yasapa, you get big things because we think big. All right. So let's give it a second, y'all. Let's give it a second, give it some time for people to come in. I want to check our live stream. Make sure y'all like and share the video. If this is your first time watching, welcome. Welcome back. Welcome back. Make sure that you teach somebody the things that you've been learning, or at least if you don't teach it, discuss it, read through your copy of the PDF. Everybody should download a free copy of this book. It's called The Devil's Pulpit by Robert Taylor. You'll see Reverend Robert Taylor, BA, okay, as the author. So make sure you download that, make sure you read it, discuss it with friends and family. And that way, you're getting the most, you're getting the absolute most out of this. So please like and share the video. This is a lot of work to put these lectures together. So please like and share the video. That's the least you can do in terms of helping us get the word out, because I know for sure that you are learning, either learning something new or you're getting a good review of information that you already have. Either way, it's value created, right? It's value for you. So least you can do is help us get into the YouTube algorithm so more people can find this information. So do your part. Don't let it all be on me. All right. Don't let it all be on me. That's not fair. And that's going to do yourself a disservice, because we all have to live with the law of compensation, right? We all have to live in with the law of compensation. So you must pay back or pay it forward. All right. So like, share, and subscribe. And y'all notice that people are unsubscribing. I don't know if people are subscribing and unsubscribing, or if they're changing their mind, if it's new people, different people, I don't know. But you see, some people don't like this topic. The religious people don't like it, and they don't want to see it. They don't want to see this information out for whatever reason, right? Doesn't mean that they want to do harm, but it might go against what they're talking about or what they've been believing, all right? So anyway, share it, subscribe, so we can keep this thing going, keep this knowledge flowing. Everybody should know this information, right? Everybody should know it, but it's going to require your help to get these videos into the YouTube algorithm so that YouTube will start showing it on the top pages or on the first page so people can find it, okay? All right, so the more subscribers we get, the more that's going to activate the algorithm, all right, to push the video. That's what it's all about, pushing the video. Okay, so y'all are looking at this advertisement to return to the Most High by learning Ibaryath, which is our language. That is the house of Yasharallah, not the Israelites. That is a religion. If you've been coming here from the beginning, you know that Israelites, all of that type of speak, that terminology references religion. It references religion. We are the house of Yasharallah. All right, so this is your way to return to the Most High. So Let's get with it, subscribe. And so for those of you who have subscribed, thank you very much for your support. Come see us Saturday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for our live online class, and we will demonstrate in greater depth and complexity how these tools that we're using or witnessing being used within this book, The Devil's Pulpit. You're going to see it as it relates to Ibaryath, all right? So what you see in this book is just a little bit. It's like a drop in the bucket of what you'll see on Saturdays in our live class, okay? It's only a drop in the bucket. But don't take my word for it. Y'all show up in class, it's not going to cost you anything, all right? So here we are. Let's get started. Let's get started with Astrotheology. Presentation number 40, all right? Presentation number 40. Can y'all believe it? 40 presentations. This is page 219 that we're going to begin on, okay? Page 219 that we're going to begin on. Give me 1 second. I got to do some housekeeping stuff real quick. Give me 1 second and I'll be back with y'all. One moment, please. Almost with you. One moment. All right, so here we are. Now remember the value proposition, the reason why you should be here, the reason why I hope you're coming here is to get an education, Like I said before, this reading is complex. It's complex. So I'm going to read it, explain or interpret it, and comment. And what I expect to happen in the chat from you all, especially from the day ones, the regulars, even though the time has changed, my expectation is that our regulars will comment, will support the chat. Okay, so this is an opportunity for everybody to teach and be taught in the chat. Okay, so be active in the chat. Please don't be stingy with your knowledge. All right, if there's a question you can answer it. If there's a definition of a word that we need to know, please go ahead and put the definition of that word in the chat. Just Google, copy, paste, drop it in the chat, so on and so forth. Okay, so let's make this an incredibly amazing, valuable learning experience for those who come today, tomorrow, in 5 years, and 10 years. And when you document your questions, comments, so on and so forth, you'll be able to look back over the years and say, wow, that's where I was back in 2022. Look at me now. Here I am now. All right, so here we go, y'all. Let's get it. Let's get it in. Page 219. All right, page 219. Here we go. We are beginning. We're gonna start. Wait a minute. Hold on, y'all. I'm sorry. We're on page 218, I believe. Yeah, we're on page 218. We're gonna just start here. All right, page 218. We're gonna start there. So here we go. And once in Egypt, quote, where also our capital Lord was crucified, end quote. Now, you recall from yesterday's presentation, the Christ figure was crucified twice, once on Mount Calvary, correlate that astrotheologically to when the sun crossed the celestial equator, it crossed exactly over the head of Cetus, the great monster. Cetus is a huge constellation, okay? All right, that was the first. And the sun is called the Lamb of capital God. In other words, the crucified Lamb of capital God. Why crucified? Because he crossed the equator, crossed, crucified. Next paragraph. And once in Egypt, so the Christ figure was again crucified for the second time in Egypt, quote, where also our capital Lord was crucified, end quote. Quoting Revelation chapter 11, verse 8. And after which autumn crucifixion, quote, now scholars recall from yesterday's presentation, autumn crucifixion is September 22nd of every year. After the autumn crucifixion, quote, he descended into hell. To get a full recap, go back and listen to presentation number 40 of Astrotheology, okay? Not 40, presentation number 39. You'll get a full recap of that, okay? So after autumn crucifixion, quote, he descended into hell, end quote. Correlate that with Satan the devil, the bottomless pit, December 21st and 22nd of every year, under the custody of the Archangel Michael. And we see a word written in biblical Hebrew characters. Everybody see that? Quote, who is like capital G-O-D, end quote. That's a citation from Cruden, C-R-U-D-E-N, by Catholics, okay? So the Catholics rendered the same word, quote, equal with capital G-O-D. So let's compare who is like, and then who is equal with, all right? Quote, who is like capital G-O-D, and quote, equal with capital G-O-D. So like and equal, all right? By Catholics rendered, quote, equal with capital G-O-D, end quote, which though theologically absurd, right? Theologically absurd, meaning there is no equal with the capital G-O-D. That's correct, right? That's why he's the capital G-O-D, or the Father. That's what's meant there. All right, so let's continue. Which though theologically absurd is, as you see, astronomically correct. All right, astronomically correct. Let's continue. For the points of the vernal and autumn equinoxes being on the same parallel line, as you saw in yesterday's lesson, as here you see Hercules, the Andrew rises at the same time with the balance. Go back and watch yesterday's lesson. Okay, so autumn equinox and spring equinox, they are equal because they are on opposite ends of the same line. This is the author's point here. All right, so now let's continue. He writes, he continues, and that capital G-O-D, that is the capital G-O-D of hosts, Gad, G-A-D, that is the L-O-R-D of host, Gad, G-A-D, a troop never meant any other than the lamb of the zodiac. Y'all got that? Never meant any other than the lamb of the zodiac. Now, we saw the lamb in video number 39 of our astrotheological series, the lamb stepping on or crushing the head of Cetus. We continue, the author continues, to which Michael is thus literally and astronomically equal. You have to concurrent testimony of both Daniel and John, prophet and apostle, who, describing the person of capital G-O-D, assures us that the, quote, hair of his head was like wool, end quote. Hey, y'all, who has woolly hair? What group of people are said to have woolly hair? So you have the same astronomical enigma or tricky story couched in the allegorical epithet of, quote, the lamb slain from the beginning of the world. The lamb slain from the beginning of the world. That is the lamb of March. That is the spring equinox, the spring equinox, okay? So remember, the spring equinox and the autumn equinox are on opposite ends of the same horizontal line. They are equals. The Lamb of March and, quote, JC, the Christ figure, the righteous. Why righteous? Because Libra in the autumn equinox, equinox meaning equal, the equal scales, the balanced scales represent righteousness, fair or total justice, fair total justice, 12 hours of daylight, 12 hours of nighttime astrotheologically, okay? The nighttime hours equal the daytime hours. Therefore, it is just. The balances are equal. The scales are balanced. All right, now let us continue with our reading. Here we go. And JC, the Christ figure, the righteous, who appeared once in the end of the world to put away all inequity. Question is, scholars in the audience, to put away what inequity? He's talking about something theological or something astronomical. Let's continue. That is, let me scroll this down for y'all so y'all can follow this. Let me scroll down. So here we are. Let's see, we're somewhere over here. Oh, here we are. All right, we're over there. Okay, let's continue. Let me find my spot. Sorry about that. Lost my spot. Okay, so JC, the Christ figure, the righteous, who appeared once in the end of the world to put away inequity. What inequity? Religious or astronomical? Let's continue reading. That is, once again, to put an end to the unevenness of the days and nights. That is, once again, to put an end to the unevenness of the number of hours of daylight hours and nighttime hours. That's what he's saying. By appearing in the balance of September. Y'all got that? By appearing in the balance of September. What's that balance? Equal number of daylight hours to nighttime hours. 12 and 12 is 24 hours. All right, clear as day, right? Clear as day, scholars. Let's continue. Let's continue with this lesson, with this presentation. We continue to read. And thus it is Christ upon Mount Calvary in spring. But it is Jesus in the garden of Gethsemane in autumn. Y'all got that? And thus it is Christ upon Mount Calvary in spring, the spring equinox. But it is Jesus in the garden of Gethsemane in August. All right, everybody got that? It is Christ on Mount Calvary. That's one end of the line, right? One point on the line, the furthest point on that line. And if you go all the way over to the other side of that horizontal line, it's going to be Christ, it's going to be Jesus. What's the location? The Garden of Gethsemane in autumn. Clear. And hence the first martyr, Saint Stephen, whose name in Greek is, and you see the Greek word, is the Greek word for crown, and who never was nor meant any other than the corona septentrionalis. Okay, that's the crown in the north, or the northern crown. which you see here at all times in the heavens, rising and setting with the northern crown, rising and setting with, rising and setting with the scales of September. All right, the northern crown rises and sets with the scales of September. In other words, the northern crown rises and sets with Libra. Though he had heard of the crucifixion of Christ, they're talking about Saint Stephen, okay? Though he had heard of the crucifixion of Christ, never dreamed of the resurrection of Christ, okay? Saint Stephen never dreamed of the resurrection of Christ. Because, why? Because after the autumn crucifixion, which is that which Saint Stephen bore witness to. In other words, Saint Stephen saw the autumn crucifixion, but he never imagined any resurrection would take place, okay? The sun, S-U-N, does not rise again, but goes to hell and Tommy. That is St. Thomas Day, the shortest day of the year. Now, scholars, go back and watch presentation number 39 to correlate the sun, S-U-N, going to hell, December 21st, 22nd, hell, the bottomless pit, so on and so forth. Correlate that with the declination, okay? All right, now let's continue. All your correlations are in video number 39 and other videos too. So go back and watch those and understand, rewatch until you understand, until you gain mastery over this topic, okay? Let's continue. Though he had heard of the crucifixion of Christ, never dreamed of the resurrection of Christ, because after the autumn crucifixion, which is that which Saint Stephen bears witness to, the sun, S-U-N, does not rise again, but goes to hell and Tommy. That is St. Thomas Day, right? Doubting Thomas, St. Thomas, what's the correlation? What's the correlation? Okay, go back and watch the other video so you can understand, become aware of what the correlation is between Tommy and St. Thomas Day and the Apostle Thomas, okay? The shortest day in the year, and therefore St. Stephen in the crucifixion, which he refers to, predicates not a crucified lamb, which we just read happens in March, right? The sun is the lamb of capital G-O-D in March, but of that most singularly astronomical personification, quote, that just one of whom, end quote, he says, quote, ye have been now the betrayers and murderers, end quote. Next paragraph, quote, that just one, end quote, being the directly allegorical name of the personification of the sun, S-U-N, as considered in the scales of September. There we have it, two crucifixions. One in March, the Lamb of God crucifixed as the sun, S-U-N, crosses the celestial equator in March, right? He is stepping on the head of Cetus, the great monster. Go to the opposite end of that horizontal line and you see what the author is referring to here, that Stephen saw, that just one, okay, who is considered the scales of September. So if this is not clear, go back and review this video, review video number 39, and actually all of the videos on this chapter, okay? And you'll get it. Next paragraph, we are here. Let's continue. And Saint Stephen, who is the Stephanos Arcticus discovered by his Greek name, which signifies the northern crown, gets the name of the first martyr. Y'all got that? And Saint Stephen, who is this Stephanos Articus, discovered by his Greek name, Okay, so again, we see the tool etymology being used here to make a discovery, which signifies the northern crown. What's significant about the northern crown? It rises and sets with the Libra constellation in September. All right, keep that in mind. And Saint Stephen, who is the Stephanos Architectus, discovered by the Greek name, which signifies the northern crown, gets the name of the first martyr. Because at that epoch of time to which this allegory synchronizes, the point of the vernal equinox was in Libra. Y'all got that? During this time, during this chronology, the vernal equinox was in Libra, September. And then as you see on this globe, that's the celestial globe, Saint Stephen truly is the first martyr. Saint Stephen truly is the first martyr. And it is, let me go up here. Hold on, y'all. Give me a second here. All right, so we are on the next page, page 219. We're here, first paragraph. All right. And it is with reference only to this effect of the precision. And it is with reference only to this effect of the precision of the equinoxes, which has caused and will again and again cause that the spring quarter may occur in autumn, and that of autumn where now 'tis spring, so that we may have summer in January and winter in July. That the astrologue of the gospel instructs his disciples that in the kingdom of heaven, quote, there be first, which shall be last, and last shall be first. All right, so y'all can Google search or search on YouTube the precession of the equinoxes, and you're going to find that these constellations, well, the months of the year occur in different constellations over time. But if you want to know how that happens, Google search precession of the equinoxes, Google search it or YouTube search it, and then you'll see there are a few videos out here that will explain that to you. All right, so that explains why Saint Stephen is the first martyr and why these events will change each month, each zodiac, okay, over time. All right, next paragraph, let's continue. And thus, as Peter has the keys of heaven, so his brother Andrew has the keys of hell. And as the brothers, Peter and Andrew, are personifications of spring and autumn, so the brothers James and John are the genii respectively, or personifications of summer and winter. Okay, for review, summer, the sun at a particular month reaches its highest point in the sky, which is called the zenith. A vertical line drawn down, cutting the celestial globe into equal halves, left and right side. At the opposite end of that line is going to be Satan, the devil. At the zenith, that is the Christ. At the opposite end of that vertical line, that's Satan, the devil, that's hell. That's the bottomless pit. All right, that's December 21st, 22nd. Okay, correlate. Go back and watch the previous videos until you understand. And you can also remember. All right, let's continue with this presentation. As these personifications are consecrated in the visible heavens by those four distinguished stars of the first magnitude, known by the name of the royal stars, as these personifications are consecrated in the visible heavens by those four distinguished stars of the first magnitude, known by the name of the royal stars. First magnitude, visible heavens, royal stars, which the sun, S-U-N, seem to near or approach as he that is the sun divides to us these 4 seasons of the year. Aldebaran, the bullseye in April, Regulus, the lion's heart in July, Antares in the scorpion of October, and Formalhuat in the fish's mouth, of January. All right, okay, let's continue. That is the vernal crucifixion. That is the vernal or springtime crucifixion, or crossing of the equator by the sun, S-U-N. The vernal crucifixion is the crossing of the sun, okay? Crossing of the sun through or over, however you want to put it, the celestial equator. When he enters, he is the sun, enters into the sign of Aries, the ram, as he does on the 21st of March. Every year, y'all, every year. Correlate this to your religious, not your religious observances, but the Christian religious observances that occur sometime on or around March 21st of every year. And no crucifixion of any man, nor any event ever happened upon earth. That is the vernal crucifixion, or crossing of the equator by the sun, S-U-N, when he enters the sign of Aries, the ram, as he does on March 21st of every year. No crucifixion of any man, nor any event that ever happened upon the earth that was the subject of the fast, that's capital F-A-S-T, of Good Friday. March 25th is the fast of Good Friday, okay? It is astronomically associated with the vernal crucifixion. It is astronomically associated with the vernal crucifixion, or the sun crossing over the equator on March 21st of every year. Clear. All right. So that was the subject of the fast of Good Friday and the feast of Easter. So correlate these also with your Hebrew Israelite feast days that occur in March in recognition of the vernal crucifixion. Keep that in mind. We're talking about astrotheology, not a particular Christian church or Hebrew Israelite or Jewish doctrine, okay? We're not talking about any of that. We're talking about astrotheology and astronomy, no doctrine. All right, let us continue. Let's continue. Okay, so we need to start back here. When the sun enters into the son of Aries, the ram, as he does on the 21st of March, and no crucifixion of any man, nor any even that ever happened upon the earth, that was the subject of the fast of Good Friday and the feast of Easter that follows it, is demonstrated in the historical fact that this fast and feast have been religiously observed in the spring of the year in every country of the world, and in every era of time of which a record of any sort has descended to our own, and observed too, with the very same ceremonies, y'all see that, and observed with the very same ceremonies, Jeremiah chapter 8, verse 8. How can you say that we are wise and the law of the Most High is with us, when the truth is that the lying pen of the scribes have turned the Most High. Look, as a matter of fact, let me not quote it. Let's show it. Let's show it. All right, give me 1 second. Let me pull this up. Let me pull it up. We're going to take a look at Jeremiah chapter 8, verse 8. All right, the author is talking about ceremonies, right? So here we are. Jeremiah chapter 8, verse 8. We are at the Bible Hub. Doesn't matter which version, which version of the Bible you use. We're going to look at the Amplified Bible. Quote, "How can you say we are wise and the law of the Most High is with us, and we are learned in its language and teaching?" How can you say that? How can you say it? Behold, the truth is that the lying pen of the scribes has made the law into a lie, a mere code of ceremonial observances. This is religion. This is religion. Our ancestors, the scribes, wrote lies to create religions and to get our people to follow religions. Clear as day, clear as day. Let's return to our document. All right, so we are, let me find our place. Where are we? Give me 1 second, y'all. Give me 1 second here. We're somewhere in here, I think. I just got to find the place. Yeah, I'm in the right paragraph. Let me just start from the beginning of this paragraph because I don't remember where we stopped. That is the vernal crucifixion or crossing of the equator by the sun, S-U-N, when he enters into the sign of Aries, the ram, as he does on the 21st of March. And no crucifixion of any man, nor any event that ever happened upon earth. That was the subject of the fast of Good Friday, the fast of Good Friday, and the feast of Easter that follows it, is demonstrated in the historical fact that this fast and feast have been religiously observed. Religiously observed, okay? There's your ceremonies, okay? This fast and feast have been religiously observed in the spring of every year, in every country of the world, and in every era of time, of which a record of any sort has descended to our own. So in all the records, these religious services or ceremonies are recorded since these events allegedly happened in the Gospels, okay, and observed. So they were not only held, but, well, they were regularly observed, let me put it like that. 2, with the very same ceremony. So in every country, they're doing the very same ceremonies, to the very same significances, very same ceremonies with the very same importance. In other words, they hold the same importance in the religious doctrine, all right? And even with the same words. And the Christ of the spring crucifixion is celebrated because after the Passover, he ascends into heaven. And we look forward to the joyful summer. And the Christ of the spring crucifixion is celebrated because after the Passover of what? After the sun passes through the celestial equator, passes over, he ascends into heaven. What heaven? Well, we should be thinking astronomically, and we should be thinking about the sun rises to its maximum height or the zenith, okay? All right, so he ascends into heaven, and we look forward to the joyful summer. But the Christ of the autumn Passover, that is when the sun crosses the celestial equator in autumn, the sun, S-U-N, descends into hell. So you're thinking the declination, December 21st, 22nd, the lowest point in the celestial globe. And we must prepare for a gloomy winter. Why? Because December 21st, 22nd represents the deepest part of the winter. That's the deepest part of the winter. And then the 23rd, the 24th, looks like the sun is not moving. Looks like the sun stands still. But then on December 25th at 12 o'clock midnight, the sun will have gone up fully 1 degree. And on Earth, we see that, we perceive that as the lengthening of daylight hours. For the first time, daylight hours are lengthening in the winter. Let's continue. Wait a minute. Let me check for comments, see what's happening in the comment section. Let me know how y'all are dealing with this. So let me read off some of these comments, y'all. Give me 1 second to go through this. Hold on, let me check it out. Let me get to the comments. See what we have here in the comment section. Like and share the video, please, y'all. Like and share the video. All right, Darrell-El, Stephanus is a title, not a name. It means crown, but garland as well. The garland represents James, the brother of JC, the Christ figure. Thank you, Darrell-El. Appreciate this. Darrell-El continues, in view of Stephan's prototypical function as first martyr in Acts, one could, with justification, argue that story from the beginning. Excellent. To end is the fictional creation of its author. The author's propensity for symbolic characters and the significance attached to a first Christian martyr named Crown, the lack of attestation of. Okay, excellent. Hagias narrative of the martyrdom of James strongly supports such a conclusion. All right, excellent. Thank you, Darrell-El. Please like and share the video, y'all. We're putting the work in. I'm putting the work in, so y'all like and share. Help me get this into the YouTube algorithm. All right, help get it into the YouTube algorithm. All right, so let's continue. We are on page 219, the last paragraph where you see the highlight. All right, so let's continue, y'all. Let's continue. Be sure to share the video, y'all, please. And in fact, take a second now to share the video and also to like it. All right. So hopefully we can finish this chapter today. Hopefully we can finish this chapter today. If not, we'll finish it tomorrow. No worries. All right. 380 years before our date of the pretended birth of a man called JC, the Christ figure, the vernal equinoctial point, that is, the point exactly at which the sun, SUN, crosses or passes over the equator, was in the first degree of the Lamb. And since that time, all nations of the earth have celebrated this annual phenomena under the allegorical veil of a crucified lamb. And all the difference that ever was between the Jewish and the Christian ceremony is so much different and no more that as a man may imagine between the words crossover and Passover. Author is or did For many ages, Passover or cross the lamb when uh-oh, what happened, y'all? Are we still live? Mic check, mic check. Are we still live? Mic check, mic check. Let me see. I don't know what's happening. I got booted out. I'm back in. Mic check, mic check. Mic check, mic check. Okay, y'all, I think I'm gonna have to read this again. Let me see. Mic check, mic check. Mic check, mic check. All right. Mic check, mic check. Are we still live? Okay, here we go. I'm gonna read it again, y'all. Don't worry about it. We push right through it. We are unstoppable. We are unstoppable. All right, so we're gonna begin again on, I'm gonna read that paragraph again. All right, because it appears that the connection was cut. Here we go. 380 years before our date of the pretended birth of a man called JC, the Christ figure. Let me read that again, y'all, with emphasis. 380 years before our date of the pretended birth of a man called JC, the Christ figure, the vernal equinoctial point, that is, the point exactly at which the sun, S-U-N, crosses or passes over the equator, was in the first degree of the Lamb. And since that time, all nations of the earth have celebrated this annual phenomena under the allegorical veil of a crucified lamb. Let me repeat it. 380 years before the alleged birth of JC, the Christ figure, the vernal equinoctial point, that is, the point exactly at which the sun, S-U-N, crosses or passes over the equator, was in the first degree of the Lamb. The sun entered into the Lamb 380 years before the Christ figure was born. That's what the author is saying. The sun was in the Lamb constellation 380 years before the Christ figure was born. That is correct, scholars. That is correct. The sun entered into the Lamb constellation 380 years before JC, the Christ figure, was born. That is called the vernal equinox. The sun was in the first degree of the Lamb constellation 380 years before the Christ figure was born. Let's continue with the paragraph. And since at that time, that's 380 years before the Christ figure was born, when the sun was exactly 1 degree into or inside of the Lamb constellation. So since then, all nations of the earth have celebrated this annual phenomena under the allegorical veil of a crucified lamb. So in other words, before the Christ figure was born, 380 years before the Christ figure was born, everybody was doing this ceremony, the Passover. Everybody in the world was doing this Passover or crossover ceremony 380 years before JC, the Christ figure, was born. They were already doing it. This is the author's point. Let's continue with the paragraph. And all the difference that ever was between the Jewish and the Christian ceremony is so much different and no more, that as a man may imagine between the words crossover and Passover. So the author is saying that there's no difference between what the Jewish people were doing and what the Christians were doing. They're just using different terms or different phrases. One is using Passover and the other is crossover. It means the same thing. Let's continue with the paragraph. And this crossover or Passover is universally celebrated at the season when the sun, S-U-N, does pass over, and the sun, S-U-N, does or did for many ages pass over or cross over the line that is the celestial equator, when he, that is the sun, S-U-N, enters the constellation of the Lamb, which the Jews call Pesach or Passover lamb. Next paragraph. The Jewish ceremony consisted essentially in eating the lamb. The Christian ceremony in, quote, eating the flesh and drinking the blood of the Lamb of capital G-O-D that taketh away the sin of the world, end quote. And this festival of Easter, on which all other festivals depend, always falling after the first Sunday after the first full moon, which happens next after the 21st of March, when the sun passes over or crosses over the equator and enters into the Lamb, the constellation Lamb. When the Jews eat their Passover lamb and the Christians eat their crossover lamb, this lamb eating always follows after the long fast of Lent, during which it was always the most damnable sin that a man could commit to eat anything but fish. As here you see, the constellation of the Lamb comes immediately after. The constellation of the Lamb comes immediately after the constellation called fishes. And of those who cannot see, I ask no more faith in my word than that they will believe me that the month of March comes after that of February. But in the ceremony of taking the sacrament, it is both the crucifixion or Passover that are celebrated. And we eat his flesh in honor of the vernal crucifixion, and we eat his flesh in honor of the vernal crucifixion, and drink his blood in honor of the autumn crucifixion. His blood being nothing else than the blood of grapes, which are ripe in September. His blood being nothing else, nothing more than the blood of the grapes, which are ripe in September. And his flesh is the mutton ready for the spit in spring. Thus, as to preach the gospel is declared by the speaker in the gospel to be the same thing as, quote, to preach the acceptable year of the capital L-O-R-D, end quote. So, quote, the doctrine of the cross, end quote. That is, the science of it is none other than the science of astrology. The doctrine of the cross, that is, the science of the cross, is none other than the science of astronomy. And I alone, ye see, am the only faithful minister of the gospel and true preacher of the cross in all this priest-written, priest-insulted, and priest-cheated metropolis. And in bearing the name of the devil's chaplain, the bishop of hell, and every other reproachable epithet that Christian malice can fasten on me, I bear reproach of the cross. Hence, scholars, you see again why the author chose to name this book The Devil's Pulpit. There is no religion, no spookism, no spiritism in this book at all. Let us continue. Y'all fill the comment section up, please. Like and share this video, subscribe, all right? Be real active in the chat. All right, let's continue. We're putting that work in, y'all. A lot of people don't want this information out. People are unsubscribing from my YouTube channel. I'm making a lot of enemies by putting this information out. Some people don't want it out. Some people don't understand that it's not me who's saying this. I'm only reading what the author wrote in his book and explaining it, okay? But in any event, it is what it is. So y'all do your part to help get this science out. It's not religion. Get the science out. Subscribe, like, share, teach, and be taught. Let's continue. Let us continue. All right. The author continues. And of those who cannot see, I ask no more faith in my word. In other words, the author is saying, don't believe me. That's not what I want you to do. All right. And they will believe. Let me repeat that. And those who cannot see, because you're blinded religiously, right? The doctrine's got you, or you're afraid. I ask no more faith in my word than that they will believe me. Okay, so the author is saying, don't believe me. Don't have faith in what I'm saying. All right. He goes on to say that the month of March comes after February. He says, just as you know, the month of March comes after February, you know it because it's logical, right? We know that. This is astronomy. This is astronomy. February, March, right? That's not religion. That's just how the seasons work, okay? That's all he's saying. Use your mind. Let's continue. But in the ceremony of taking the sacrament, it is both the crucifixion or Passover that are celebrated, and we eat his flesh in honor of the vernal crucifixion and drink his blood in honor of the autumn crucifixion, his blood being nothing else than the blood of grapes, which are ripe in September, and his flesh is the mutton ready for the spit in spring. Thus, as to preach the gospel is declared by the speaker in the gospel to be the same thing as to, quote, preach the acceptable year of the capital Lord, end quote. So, quote, the doctrine of the cross, end quote, that is the doctrine of the cross is the science that is none other than the science of astronomy. The doctrine of the cross is the science of astronomy. And I alone you see. The author is saying that I alone, who's I? The Reverend Robert Taylor, am the only faithful minister of the gospel. Why is he saying he's the only faithful minister of the gospel? Because it's he alone who's telling the dirty secret that the gospels are telling the story of astronomy. This is what the author is saying, not Dr. Yasafa, but the author of this book, okay? And I alone, ye see, am the only faithful minister of the gospel. That means that the author is telling us that if your preacher, Moshe, Moreh, rabbi, so on and so forth, is teaching you doctrine, they are not faithful to the gospel. They're teaching you a lie. All right, this is the author's point. Let's continue. He says, I alone am the only faithful minister of the gospel and true preacher of the cross. In all this priest or rabbi or Moshe, Moreh written, priest, rabbi, Moreh, Moshe insulted, and priest, rabbi, pastor, reverend, Moreh, all of that stuff. I lost my space, y'all. Okay, cheated. Yeah, priest, more, pastor, reverend, rabbi, more, Moshe, cheated, metropolis or city, okay? And in bearing the name of the devil's chaplain, the bishop of hell, and every other reproachable epithet that the Christian malice can fasten on me, I bear the reproach of the cross. Wow, that's heavy. That's really heavy. The author is saying that he's telling the truth, that these gospels have an astronomical meaning, and therefore he has been persecuted. He is bearing the cross for being the only true preacher of the gospel. Very interesting point of view, right? Isn't it? Whether you agree, disagree, it's a matter of discussion, but his point of view is very interesting. And from my point of view, it's worthy of discussion and thought. All right, let's continue. And if this way of preaching seemed to you to be foolish, it seems so, not because you are believers in Christ, but because you are not. Oh, oh, that's deep. I understand exactly what he's saying. Let me read that again. Hey, y'all, put your head around this, scholars in the audience. Put your head around what the author says here. Let me read it again. And if this way of preaching, that is, the author is telling you that the Gospels tell a story, an astronomical story. And if this way of preaching, this astronomy of the gospel seems to you to be foolish, it seems so not because you are believers in Christ, but because you are not believers in Christ. Wow. I like the way the author reasons. The preaching of the cross is foolishness to them that believe not. That is, that understand not, that ken not, that sat not, that are not up to it. But to us who are up to it, who do understand it, who see through it, and see through all the veil, canting hypocrisy of reverent knaves, tricky people, dirty people, right? Who would hinder you from seeing through it. This preaching of the cross, which they call foolishness, is most literally preaching, quote, the power of capital God and the wisdom or science of capital God, end quote. That is, of the sun, S-U-N, in the constellation of the Lamb, in which the cross takes place. Remember, the cross is the sun, S-U-N, crossing over the celestial line of the equator, and which is the tribe of Gad. When the sun crosses over the celestial equator, that is the tribe of Gad, G-A-D. The same, whether you call him Adonis or Jesus, Mars, the capital G-O-D of war, or Yahoo or Yahuwah, the capital L-O-R-D of hosts. Take some time to seriously consider what we just read. I'm just going to pause for a minute so you can think about what we just read, and then I'll begin the reading in about 30 seconds. Okay, let us continue with our lesson. And they it is who want to put down the rotunda. This is the location where these sermons were given. And they it is who want to put down the rotunda, who are, quote, the enemies of the cross of Christ. What cross of Christ? When the sun crosses the celestial equatorial line, not talking doctrine, talking astronomy here, whose capital G-O-D is their belly and the mind of earthly things. Y'all see that? The mind of earthly things, as opposed to heavenly or celestial things. The sun, S-U-N, crossing the celestial equator. Passover, crossover. The Lamb, Gad, Adonis, Jesus, Mars, the capital G-O-D of war, Yahoo, Yahuwah, the capital L-O-R-D of hosts. We are talking about the Son and the Father, the Trinity, right? The Father and the Son, Yahoo, Yahuwah, all of that, Jesus to Christ, so on and so forth. Let's continue. Remember, scholars, the author is saying, we are not talking about earthly things, whereas the true doctrine of the cross has no earthly foundation whatever. Its true preacher do set my affections on the things above. What things above? The celestial globe. The celestial globe, the S-U-N, sun, the celestial equator, the constellations, and the zodiac, so on and so forth. These are the things that are above, not on things on the earth, which is morality type of stuff, who you slept with, who screwed who stole something, who didn't, who did, where you going, where you been, who was seen where and with who, not with that kind of stuff. And my conversation is, as you see and hear in heaven, where and where alone, as you may see in this delineation, is the crucified lamb, which the sun, S-U-N, enters March on the 21st of March. And where is the lamb's wife? And where is the lamb's wife? That is Mrs. Lamb in the Virgin of August. So the lamb's wife is in the Virgin, Virgo of August. As the psalmist sublimely exclaims, there's an asterisk here, quote, forever, O capital L-O-R-D, thy word is true in heaven, end quote. Let me see if I can find the asterisk that he's referring. Oh, well, hold on, y'all. I got to turn it. I think I need to. Okay, are we good? Are we on the right page? Yeah, I think we're on the right page. Yeah, here we are here. So let me take a look to see if there's an asterisk. Okay, so I didn't see an asterisk. All right, let's continue reading, y'all. I hope y'all are enjoying this. We're almost done. If you haven't liked and shared, like and share the video, okay, because we're almost done. We just have a few more paragraphs. Like and share and subscribe if you have not. Don't be stingy with your knowledge, and don't be shy to ask a question, to answer a question, or to put your questions, comments, and links in the chat, okay? Contribute to this presentation. Help other people. Let's continue. All right, and so it is, but it was never true on earth, and none but a fool or a dunce would ever have dreamed that it was so. And I admit that I was once a fool and I was once a dunce, because I used to be all into this stuff, y'all. I was all into it. I was out poping the Pope, all right, as Dr. Clark used to say. And just like a lot of our people do, right? Continue. And they who have represented Christ and his apostles as persons that ever existed upon the earth do turn the truth of the capital God into a lie. Discuss this with your Moshe, your Moreh, your apostle, your pastor, your reverend, your imam. Demand answers. If they're unwilling to answer you, to entertain you, and give you answers that have substance, then you know what you should do if you are in your right mind. Continue with the paragraph. Nor was it till the year 680 of our era, that's 680 AD, under the reign of Constantine Paganatus in the 6th Constantinopolitan Council, held under Pope Agathos, that in the 82nd decree of that council, now y'all can go look this up. He just gave you the citation. It was decreed, and the decree subsequently ratified by Pope Adrian I. There's no ambiguity here. You got the citation. You have the Pope. Go look it up. Put it in the chat. Put it in the comments. See, there's nothing vague about this. Nothing vague at all about it. That instead of Christ being represented under the form of a crucified lamb, which had up to that time been the only emblem of the crucifixion, he should be represented in the hideous and disgusting form of a crucified man. Go check the source, check the citation, be kind enough to put it in the chat. I know one person who's reliable and capable researcher, that's Darrell-El. Darrell-El, if you get the time, you're welcome to do that for us. I don't know anyone else who has the inclination to do it. And I'm sure it'll only take you a second to find that out. For other people, they might have to search for, days, hours, or months to find that. All right, so let's continue. And thanks, Darrell-El, if you're willing to do that. Much appreciated for the people. Let's continue. As here, I have the happiness of showing you, on the unquestionable authority of the learned and pious Cassius, a plate of the oldest form of the crucifix preserved in the Vatican of Rome, where you see Christ is represented as the bleeding lamb, standing upon a mount under the cross and bleeding from his 5 wounds, 1 in each foot, and the 5th from his breast, in allegory of the 5 winter months. 5 wounds, 5 winter months: October, November, December, January, February. Again, October 1, November 2, December 3, January 4, February 5. 5 wounds. 5 wounds. The winter is a rough, tough time of the year, and it will beat you up, even kill you, if you are not prepared. All right, let's continue. All right, during which sun, that is during these 5 winter months, during which the sun, S-U-N, really and literally is below the cross. Remember, during the vernal equinox, the sun was, well, before the vernal equinox, just before the vernal equinox, the sun was underneath the celestial equator. Then it crossed over. 25th of March, or 21st of March, the sun crossed over. In other words, the sun moved up above the celestial equator, right? Now in August, the author is saying, or during the autumn equinox, remember we're looking at a vertical, at a horizontal line. the spring equinox, vernal equinox on the opposite end of a horizontal line. And then the other extreme opposite end, we have the autumn equinox, okay? So now the sun is approaching from above, and this is in autumn, the autumn equinox, and it crosses over, moving downward toward winter. This is what the author is saying. So now you are oriented in time and space. All right, let us continue. During which the sun, S-U-N, really and literally is below the cross, precisely as the sacred hieroglyph you see him represented. All right, now let's go back to that hieroglyph image that the author is talking about. He says here, within the Vatican of Rome, you see Christ is represented as a bleeding lamb standing upon a mount under the cross. You see the bleeding lamb who has 5 wounds standing under the cross. This is in autumn because the sun crossed the celestial equator, and it is below that line now. All right, let's continue. Let's continue. We are here, the last page of this paragraph, the last paragraph of this page, y'all. It reads, nor was it till the middle of the 15th century, the year 1468, that any eye of man had seen the fraudulently pretended passage of Tacitus, which the monks foisted into the text of that historian to make it appear that the crucified lamb was a crucified man. Okay, if anyone is inclined to do this research, put it in the chat or even come in and present it. That would be fine too for teaching purposes. Nor was it till the middle of the 14th century, the year was 1468, that any eye of man had seen the fraudulently pretended passage of Tacitus, which the monks foisted into the text of that historian to make it appear that the crucified lamb was a crucified man. Okay, the author just gave us a citation where we can go and check. Let's go and check. For the first time, this crucified lamb was visualized or represented as a crucified man. 1468, the monks did a switcheroo, right? The monks did a switcheroo. Let's read it again. Nor was it till the middle of the 15th century, the year was 1468, that any eye of man had seen the fraudulently pretended passage of Tacitus, which the monks foisted into the text of that historian. Y'all see that? The monks wrote a lie into the history that Tacitus wrote. When did the monks write this lie? The year was 1468. What was the lie? It was the first time that this crucified lamb was represented as a crucified man. That would be JC, the Christ figure. And to disguise the hide, the real origin and significance of the Christian religion by giving an appearance of history to the most manifestly indeed fiction. Y'all hear that? The monks did this. There's your black priesthood, Jeremiah 8:8. At it again. And to found on that crucifixion and resurrection, which had reference only to natural phenomena, which had reference only to natural phenomena. Natural phenomena is governed by natural law. Natural phenomena is governed by natural law. A belief of a dead man coming to life again and absurdities so monstrous that no man dare tell them to another without first making him promise that he would not laugh at them. End of the discourse on the crucifixion of Christ. So congratulations, scholars, to those of you who stayed to the end. Thank you for spending your afternoon with me. I hope you enjoyed this as much as I have. And I hope everybody learned a lot. But more importantly, I hope that you will discuss this with your families, discuss it with your mores, moshes, teachers, pastors, reverends, all of that stuff, and demand of them a answer. Demand an answer. Okay. All right. So now let's go into the comment sections and see what's happening in the comments. All right. So Darrell-El says you are breaking up. Thanks, Darrell-El. Darrell-El writes 1, yes, you are breaking up. Thank you. All right. Darrell-El continues. The Romans believed that a withered laurel tree was a portent of disaster. Although the Old Testament is curiously silent about the bay laurel, the New Testament. Excellent. The letters, Darrell-El continues, attributed to the Apostle Peter and James, the brother of JC, the Christ figure, include references to the bay laurel. Excellent, 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 excellent point. The letter attributed to James compared to the bay laurel, the quote, the crown of life, the corona. Excellent. Darrell-El, I'm sorry, I missed what you're asking. Bring back your righteous mind, Darrell-El writes. Could you play that YouTube clip? Okay, let me search for it in a second, Darrell-El. Let me continue. Don't forget to say the copyright use for teaching. Okay, so it's called Bring Back Your Righteous Mind. Give me 1 second, I'll look it up. Give me 1 second. I'll pull it up. Bring back your righteous mind. Bring back your righteous mind. I don't see a bring back your righteous mind. All right. Yeah, I don't see that. Bring back your righteous mind. So I did a YouTube search. I don't see it. Darrell-El, can you put the link in the chat for me, please? And I'll show it. I did a YouTube search. I didn't see it. So if there's anybody out there who's willing to, anybody out there in the audience who's willing to, please like and share the video, subscribe. Anyone who's willing to search out these citations that we just reviewed. Let me look at the page number. This is actually important information, y'all. This is critically important information. Let me pull it up again. The citations on page 200. The citation on page 221. Okay, it has to do with the historian Tacitus, T-A-C-I. Let me show it. Let me show it. Let me find it. Give me 1 second. Let me find it. Oops. Let me show the highlight. This is an important deal. Give me 1 second. Let me highlight it so y'all can see what research we need. If anybody's willing to do it, here's the first citation. It's on page 221. 221. We need this. It's in this paragraph right here. All right. So the author is citing the historian Tacitus. He's citing the historian Tacitus. All right. So I'll go ahead and read it. For was it till the middle of the 15th century, the years 1468, that any man had ever saw the fraudulently pretended passage of Tacitus. Okay, this is the citation, which the monks foisted, here it is, which the monks foisted into the text of that historian to make it appear that the crucifixion of the Lamb was a crucified man, and to disguise and hide the real origin and significance of the Christian religion. That, scholars, is a hugely important point. Okay, the monks did this. All right, you correlate this to Jeremiah 8:8. The year was 1468. The historian is Tacitus. His works. The monks wrote some lies. They wrote some changes to his works, and they represented for the first time, the crucified Lamb as a crucified man. Why did they do it? They did it to hide the real origin and importance of the Christian religion. It is astronomical, okay? It is astronomical, telling the story of the stars. The other point that we should look at is, I believe it's here, this paragraph. So both citations are on the same page. So let's read the next one. Nor was it till the year 600 AD, under the reign of Constantine Paganatus, in the sixth Constantinopolitan Council, there's your reference, held under Pope Agathos, that in the 82nd decree of the Constantinopolitan Council, it was decreed, and the decree subsequently ratified by Pope Adrian I, that instead of Christ being represented under the form of a crucified lamb, which had up to that time been the only emblem of the crucifixion, in other words, up until the Constantinople Council, the Christ figure was represented as a crucified lamb. Okay, he continues. It was at that council, it was at the Constantinopolitan Council that the Pope agreed that they would represent the crucified lamb as a crucified man. All right. These are extremely important points. These are things that all of our people should know, so that they're not in belief, but that they are knowing the history about the things which they believe. I'm sure everybody agrees with that. Okay, so thanks everybody. I'm gonna come back and put our new schedule together. Okay, we have a new schedule. Y'all like and share the video, please. Like, share the video. I shouldn't have to keep saying this, you know, it takes, I'm doing so much talking, and to have to say like and share the video in addition to everything else, it's a lot of stress on my voice. Give me one less thing to say so I can focus on the work that I'm doing and be comfortable. So could y'all just do that? do that as like baseline. I don't have to say it. Everybody knows that they should do it. Could y'all do that for me, please? Give me some help. All right, so this book, 911 Ibaryath Rescue, I put it on sale. I have about 100 of them. I need to sell them because I'm gonna do some other things. I need to get these off the shelf. You see, I drastically reduced the price. It was $39.99. Now it's $24.99. So y'all go out and buy multiple copies, give them away to your friends and family. Also, be sure to subscribe to 101 Ancient Ibaryath, Return to Your Heritage. This is a powerful, intensive course. 113 videos, it's jam-packed. This is going to help you return to the Most High. Finally, go to Zion Law School, our products page, and support, if you feel the desire in your heart to support us, by ordering our books. This Animals in the Bible, this is a beautiful book and an incredible value. It's glossy, 4 colors, and it is complete. And we're basically giving it away for almost free. Look at that, only $9.99. All right. So if y'all want to support, go out and get that. Go out and get Biblical Phoenician Hebrew. Okay, I can read Deuteronomy chapter 28. These are amazing books. Okay, it's amazing and it's ours. It's not biblical Hebrew, none of that stuff. It's our stuff. All right, y'all. My voice is getting tired. I need to take a break, my voice. And I will see everybody tomorrow. I'll see y'all tomorrow. I hope tomorrow. I hope to see you all tomorrow. Okay. All right, y'all. I'm Dr. Yasapa from Zion Law School. I am signing out. Shalom. Shalom. Be sure to support. All right, y'all. Shalom. See y'all tomorrow. I will announce the schedule. My voice is tired. I'll do it when I post the video. Okay, shalom.